Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Hughes, and I want to welcome you to the 2025 Pinnacle Awards. Today's event is brought to you by the Women's Network of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. And thank goodness for them. Every year for 30 years, they have brought together 1,200 women and allies to celebrate great leadership in our community with the Pinnacle Awards. And let's face it, January is not our best month in New England. And so having this to look forward is just a beacon in so many ways. I am honored to host the Pinnacle Awards again. I would like to think that maybe somewhere in here is the fountain of youth, because I'd like to keep doing this as long as humanly possible without having to actually be wheeled up on stage. But I love this award ceremony for so many reasons. Every year, we're reminded of the incredible leadership in our midst. Women who are our friends, our bosses, our mentors. And we're also reminded that these women who are at the top of their game see the pinnacle not as an ending point, but as a jumping off point to the next thing. And it's that curiosity, that love of being with people, that interest in innovating that makes them who they are. And what's so beautiful about this event is that we get to celebrate that, and we all leave inspired by their words of wisdom. So before we begin, I just want one big round of applause for our honorees today, 9 incredible women whom I have loved spending time with. So I'm very, very happy. And as always, I want to thank the Chamber. I want to thank all of you for being here today. And let's see if we can get the event trending again on social media. I would love it if my son saw this on his social media feed, because right now all we're talking about is Sabrina Carpenter and Squid Game. And I would like to up the intellectual content there just a hair. So at Boston Chamber, hashtag Pinnacle Awards today, and let's see if we can let the outside world, people who are not in this room, see what an incredible event this is. We are going to begin the awards presentation in just a few minutes, but I want to remind you it's a working lunch, so please feel free to begin your delicious meal, and we're going to make sure that the program rolls as it always does, and you can enjoy all of it and get to whatever it is comes after. I do want to thank the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport for this incredible space, and a special shout out to the servers today. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. So let's get our program started now. I would like to welcome to the stage another past Pinnacle honoree, the new Women's Network Chair and the CEO of Argus, and most importantly, someone who always supports other women. Please welcome Caitlin Dodge.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everyone. So happy to see everyone, and I'm thrilled to be here at one of the largest and most notable celebrations recognizing influential women across Massachusetts. And I am extremely proud to serve as your chair of the Women's Network. The Women's Network provides so many opportunities for gathering and connecting. Last year at this time, I was on this stage as a Pinnacle honoree. I was delivering an acceptance speech, and my colleagues and my mom were all in the audience, and it was just such a wonderful and special experience to be among all of these amazing business and community leaders. It was something that I will never forget. But my entire journey with the Women's Network has been deeply meaningful. When the pandemic started, I was the mom of 2 very, very small children. In fact, my second son was just starting to get to the age where I was sleeping again, and I was starting to feel like I was seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and then the whole world shut down. And one of the first live events that I went to was a Women's Network breakfast. And it was the then Chair Susan Penta who was interviewing Karen Kaplan, who's CEO of Hill Holiday at the time. And I had just been named CEO of Argus, and we are a marketing and branding agency here in Boston. And I was so excited. I was so excited to go, get out there, and start seeing people again. But I really had no idea how meaningful this particular breakfast would be for me. The women on stage were so real and raw and open, and it made the entire audience be that way as well. I met some women at that breakfast who I'm still very close with and become my closest confidants in the business world here that day, and we are still very, very close. And I told myself that I was going to go to as many of these Women's Network events as possible, and I tried to do just that. Over these past 3 years, my involvement with the Women's Network has really grown because every single event that I went to, every meeting I went to, there was such a positive impact afterwards. My professional and personal network was growing, and all of these women who I was looking up to and Googling their past and their histories and trying to find out more about them, these people who I admired so much, they were becoming people that I really knew and people who I could talk to and get advice from. And suddenly I had this community, and it was amazing. And as I continued to grow and continued to grow in my career at Argus and started to meet more people, while still very much looking up to the women who I was meeting, I'm reminded that as we reach new heights in our communities and in our careers, how important it is to make sure that we are elevating all of the women that we can, especially for women who perhaps started their careers during the pandemic and maybe are just starting to think about in-person networking and starting to wonder, is it really worth it, to get all the way to the seaport in the traffic on a Friday? But it is worth it. It is so worth it. And at first, it takes some courage, and it takes a lot of energy at first. But the more you can do it, and you start to see the same faces, you introduce yourself to one person at a time, and you start to have that friendly face at the next meeting, you really start to see the benefit of in-person connecting. And I think that really should be, that's kind of my hope for 2025, is that it is the year of making these connections. It's something that we could all use more of. And when we make those connections, I hope that we all ask ourselves, how can we celebrate all of the women who are working across the Commonwealth? The women who are not in this room right now, maybe back at our offices or in our personal lives, women across all industries and across the Commonwealth. Can you be the one to invite someone to an event, to reach out and invite someone into this community? This is definitely a moment in time where it's important for us to stand together and lift each other up. And the Women's Network can help with all of this, creating meaningful connections and champions, recognizing and celebrating women who drive this region forward. My journey from Women's Network event attendee to Pinnacle Award honoree to the Women's Chair, the Chair of the Women's Network, continues to positively impact my world on such a regular basis. And I know that the network will be a part of my life and continue to serve as a strong community for me. And I am just one of many examples in this room of many people who get up and say the same exact thing, of people who have found such valuable community in the Women's Network. And I couldn't and frankly wouldn't want to do this work if it weren't for the fierce leaders who are joining me. And so I'd like to recognize a few different groups today. First of all, I would like to recognize the Women's Network Advisory Board and many of its members who are in the room. And I would also like to recognize the Chamber Women's Leadership Program, which has more than 1,300 graduates in workplaces across the Commonwealth. We continue to uplift the professional development of women in every industry. The Women's Leadership Program, the most competitive professional development program in the region, is now accepting early enrolling nominations for in-person and virtual cohorts. So please, I encourage you to nominate a leader in your organization, to kind of reach out that hand and invite someone into the community. And who knows, maybe the person that you nominate will be up here in a few years as a Pinnacle Award honoree. I would also like to offer a thank you to our academic partner, Simmons University, for their really meaningful support of the 2025 class. And we are going to have applause for everyone, I promise. And finally, I wanted to note that we actually have the Women's Leadership Program class of 2025 with us in the audience today. You probably heard them a little bit ago. So if advisory board members and the Women's Leadership Program participants, please stand up to be recognized. So this is just the beginning. This is still January. I know it feels like it's been many months of 2025, but it's still just January. And I hope that you will join us at the Women's Network events throughout the year. I promise that you will be inspired and empowered and make meaningful connections just like you will today. And now I am pleased to welcome Celia Rishi, the Chamber's Senior Vice President of Strategic Initiatives and Policy, to the podium.
Thank you, Caitlin. There's no one I'd rather follow, and I'm so glad you're our chair. On behalf of the Chamber and our CEO, Jim Rooney, I'm thrilled to welcome you all to the Pinnacle Awards. Today would not be possible without an engaged business and civic community. All of you are a constant reminder of how fortunate we feel to live and work in Massachusetts, especially in these times. As I thank the following leaders and companies, please hold your applause until the end. First, I want to thank our committed presenting sponsors, starting with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, the TJX companies, and Vineyard Offshore. Thank you to this year's supporting sponsors, many women-led businesses among them. Thank you to Susan Esper, Jess Ackerman, Deloitte, Katie O'Neill, and Suffolk for supporting our past Pinnacle honorees. I'm so happy to share that we have over 40 honorees spanning 3 decades of awards here with us today, thanks to them. Thank you to our media partner, WBZ TV, and the incomparable Lisa Hughes, who is just so kind and humble. Okay, you can clap. It's fine. Lisa and WBZ have made sure that this message reaches a much wider audience, and I hope some of you were able to tune into the primetime interviews over the last couple weeks that Lisa conducted with our honorees on WBZ. I also want to thank many corporate table sponsors, our chamber members, for not just your support today, but throughout the year. We have many special audience members joining us today, including cabinet secretaries, city chiefs, elected and appointed government officials. We're grateful for all your support. I won't thank you all by name, but thank you for your commitment to women in our workforce. And then finally, the biggest reason we continue to fill this room year after year is our powerhouse team at the Chamber. There is no one like them. And so I want to take a moment to say thank you to my friends and colleagues, Danielle Dory, Ange Medina, Erica Deese, Lauren Cohen, Vanessa Damaris, Casey Baines, and Zach Costa. Please, now let's give all of these amazing people and companies a round of applause. So in case you didn't hear the news, a very important Boss Biz woman joined us earlier this month, Mayor Michelle Wu's daughter, Mira. So please join me in congratulating Mayor Wu and her family. To represent her and the city, we welcome to the stage Tiffany Chu, Chief of Staff to Mayor Wu. With Tiffany's extensive background in entrepreneurship, planning, and design, Boston is fortunate to have her in City Hall. Tiffany was CEO and co-founder of Remix, a collaborative software platform used by cities all around the world before she joined us in Boston. Tiffany, thank you for being with us today. Please join me on stage.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Celia, for your leadership in that warm introduction. And I want to give a special warm thank you to Jim Rooney and his wonderful, incredible team for continuing to invest in women at all stages of their careers, for all the work that you do for our families, businesses, city, and Commonwealth. And of course, I also want to recognize Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. Congratulations on being named one of this afternoon's honorees, and many others to come. And to all of the current and former elected officials, directors, commissioners, past honorees here with us here today, thank you for continuing to champion women in our business community every single day. I'm so grateful to be here on behalf of our city and our mayor, as Celia mentioned, who knows, like so many of you, what it means to chart your own course despite what noise might be coming from the outside. And while there are times when it feels like everything around us is working to knock us off course, it's important to celebrate how far we've come. On Tuesday, about 2 weeks after welcoming baby Mira to her family in Boston, the mayor was back at work at City Hall, cradling her baby on her chest, which people had many opinions about. So there we were, sitting in our cabinet meeting in the Eagle Room, discussing the impacts of the new federal administration, and the mayor sitting there next to me, nursing tiny little Mira with a nursing blanket on. And I have this moment where it hits me. This is the first time a mayor has nursed a baby in a cabinet meeting in the entire city of Boston. Moments like that embody what the Pinnacle Awards are all about, celebrating a community of women whose leadership is a source of inspiration for all of us. In offices, labs, courtrooms, and clinics, across sector and field, you have each remained true to your own visions of what this world can and should be. This afternoon, we're honoring 9 Pinnacle Award honorees who come from an array of industries: education, government, business, law, to healthcare, finance, journalism, and you've all grown businesses, built pipelines to leadership, created jobs, inspired your colleagues, and proved that our workplaces can uplift everyone without sacrificing the bottom line. And while that's something we in this room understand, it's an idea that's under attack. Today's news often threaten decades of work done by many of you, years of effort and achievement undermined by the idea that to optimize and advance, we must exclude and divide. But that's exactly why this community of women, men, and everyone in between is so important. A group that rises above the idea that something can't be done because we don't do it that way, or we've never done it that way. That doesn't just look out for themselves, but for each other. For me, that vision was built on a love for cities. It's why over a decade ago, I built a startup creating tools for cities to plan their transportation systems called Remix. Like so many of you, we assembled our team from the ground up. We started from a team of 4 in a tiny apartment and grew to 70, knowing that to build our company to last, we needed to prioritize hiring the right people who embraced an inclusive drive for change. But even as a co-founder and CEO, I would often walk into rooms with an older male colleague, and the people sitting at the table would, without even knowing it, make assumptions and direct their questions to him. It always made me question, do I not look like a CEO? Do I not inherently possess something that others do? It's something that I've had to, and I'll make a guess that some of us in this room have also had to work through over many years, learning how to step forward into our own, no matter what obstacles arise before us. And in this room, very big room, many of you have done so while helping to make our city the best place to live, start or grow a business, or raise a family. And those are the goals we strive toward every day at the city. Through our Office of Women's Advancement, our Worker Empowerment Cabinet, our Economic Opportunity Office, and so many more, through millions of dollars in grants for local and women-owned businesses, we're continuing the work of building a stronger, fairer, and more impactful business community. This is where we clearly see the benefits of public and private sector collaboration. When we work together to create the safest, greenest, family-friendliest city, a home for everyone, and this is absolutely why the Chamber Women's Network is so important, why wage equality and transparency legislation is so impactful, and why this community of leaders, doers, entrepreneurs, and change makers is so vital. So thank you for inviting me, and congratulations to all of the honorees.
Thank you, Tiffany. Now, I'm pleased to turn your attention to a video message from Governor Maura Healey, a past Pinnacle honoree herself. She wanted to be with us today, definitely to celebrate the LG, but we are grateful for her continued support of the Chamber and its Women's Network. Let's turn to the video now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pinnacle Awards. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person, but I love that the Boston Chamber keeps up this tradition of bringing women together to celebrate one another. I also couldn't miss the opportunity to congratulate my teammate and friend, our fabulous Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll. As someone who knows the ins and outs of local government, Kim brings so much to our administration. Congratulations, Kim, you deserve it. And congratulations to all of our honorees. You're a true testament to the power of women to shape industry, government, our communities, and our future. As executives within your organizations, You're all accomplished in your own right, of course, but I think what makes this group of leaders exceptional is that they paved the way for others to succeed. That's something Kim and I believe in deeply, and it's a reason that our own administration is full of smart, creative, and bold women getting things done for the people of Massachusetts. Again, thank you for all that you do. Thank you to the Boston Chamber for bringing everyone together, and best wishes for a great 2025.
Our thanks to Governor Healy for the video. She is definitely with us today in spirit. I want to welcome Zamawa Arenas up to the podium now. She's going to be introducing our Pinnacle Emerging Executive honoree today. And if she looks familiar, and you've been coming to this event for a while, it's because 20 years ago, Zamawa received the Emerging Executive Award from the Chamber. She is the founder and CEO of Floetic, a marketing consultancy that helps leaders of nonprofits and social enterprises engage with consumers and stakeholder groups to enhance impact. For more than 20 years, she has partnered with clients to advance equity and drive change in healthcare and education and economic development. She is also a 5-time Emmy Award winner for public service campaigns, and she is a leader in demand. Last year, Governor Healy appointed Zamawa to serve on the state's Latino Empowerment Council. So please welcome Zamawa to kick off our award ceremony today.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, buenas tardes. Do all you can with what you have, in the time you have, in the place you are. With those words, I ended my remarks when I received the honor of the Emerging Executive Award 20 years ago, and I'm still living true to that promise. Those words by Nkosi Johnson, a South African youth advocate who died of AIDS, have been my guiding compass ever since. They have taught me that wisdom knows no age, and that progress is not about waiting for the perfect moment or having every resource. It's about taking charge of what's in front of you and making the most of it. These words by Nkosi Johnson have also shaped my approach to leadership and service and my work with the Chamber over the years. As a member of the Chamber community, I have seen firsthand the power of doing all we can right here in Boston. I've had the opportunity to collaborate with many leaders in the business, nonprofit, philanthropic, and government sectors to take on big challenges, people of diverse backgrounds. And this has allowed us to build enduring relationships and create opportunities for others. It's meaningful work, and it proves that real change happens when we focus on what we can give rather than what we lack. As the world shifts, this commitment is more important than ever. We must continue to do all we can with purpose and the belief that our actions today will have a lasting impact. As the abuela of 2 beautiful grandchildren, I take this responsibility with renewed passion, knowing that what we do today, what we build today, will shape the future that they will inherit and that many others will as well. And on creating lasting impact, it is my great honor to present the Pinnacle Award for Emerging Executive to someone who embodies the spirit of purpose and possibility, Ivana Epperson-Temple, President of the Massachusetts Black Lawyers Association. Ivana is a litigation and trial attorney who fosters diversity, equity, and inclusion while advocating for systemic change to promote justice and equality in our communities. As an attorney, she has successfully defended cases through trial and verdict in state court and has argued cases before the Massachusetts Appeals Court. Ivana serves as faculty for the National Institute of Trial Advocacy and provides pro bono counsel through the Women's Bars Foundation's Family Law Project, representing survivors of domestic violence. Committed to fostering a strong sense of community for women, Ivana is also a fitness instructor and leads an inclusive cardio dance class. Ivana encourages others to bet on yourself, and take calculated risks. Seek out novel opportunities that push you toward growth and build you, shaping your skills and confidence. Congratulations, Savannah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am truly honored to receive the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce 2025 Pinnacle Award in the category of Emerging Executive. As I reflect on my journey and what has brought me to this moment, one theme stands out: overcoming setbacks and failures, and the role that that has played in helping me to push the bounds of what I thought I was capable of and ultimately succeed. In addition to my work in the legal industry, I've been a fitness instructor since 2017. One of the most profound lessons I've learned in fitness is that in order to succeed, you must first be willing to fail. There's this concept in fitness called pushing to failure, when aiming to reach your personal record. Pushing to failure requires that you repeat a movement, maybe bicep curls or squats, with the proper technique and mastery of the form until you cannot repeat that movement again with the same excellent form. It is about pushing past perfection and grit. It's about working hard and giving it all you've got safely until you reach your physical limit, and importantly, it is about knowing when to stop. This is not about pushing just for the sake of pushing. It's about pushing with intention and with vision. And it is at that moment when you begin to see just how strong you truly are, and that you are stronger than you were in the weeks and months prior. It is a process that builds endurance, mental strength, and resilience, resulting in gains and growth despite the temporary discomfort. Oftentimes, pushing to failure in the gym is not pretty. The stench, the sweat, the exhaustion, but it is a wonderful thing, and it is something that should be celebrated when done right. And just as important, pushing to failure is not and should not be an everyday occurrence. It is not about being in a state of constant struggle. And doing so every day would actually be counterproductive to your overall growth because rest and recovery are a critical part of the process. It is about sustainable growth. And while the discomfort is necessary, and when done appropriately, a sign of reaching new heights, pushing to failure teaches you to pursue excellence while respecting yourself and the boundaries for sustainable growth. It is about knowing when to give 110% and also knowing when it is important to pause, rest, and recover. This principle has guided my work in the legal sphere. Over the past 9 or so months, while serving as the president of the Massachusetts Black Lawyers Association, I've acted with intensity and intention according to plan, and still I've encountered setbacks that tested my limits, setbacks that challenged me to think bigger and reassess what I thought I and my team were capable of. For example, when we could not afford wine for our wine tasting fundraiser, we found a way and we made it happen. We execute our vision. We did, and we do. We execute our vision, including our 500-plus person gala with no paid staff or full-time volunteers. We find a way, we make a way. Thank you. In moments where I encounter a challenge, I'm reminded of the importance of adaptability, resourcefulness, moxie, asking for what you want, and importantly, being very clear about what you need to succeed. The principle of pushing to failure has taught me how to differentiate between quitting and intentionally choosing to stop and pivot with purpose. This principle has shown me that failure is not an obstacle, but rather a stepping stone to success. So to everyone present today, do not be afraid of failure. There is always something to learn from things not going as planned. There is always something to be gained. Challenge yourself, take calculated risk, be a little vulnerable, and enjoy the discomfort of growth. Lean into it, or even better, run towards it. Let it build you and propel you forward towards your next big success. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ivana. Our next honor today is presented for our honoree in Achievement in Management Government, and our honoree is the LG, the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Kim Driscoll is the 73rd Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth. She is also part of a history-making team, because when she and the governor were sworn in on January 5th, 2023, they became the first all-female executive team in Massachusetts. Since then, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll has spearheaded many of the administration's priorities and initiatives. She is a champion for economic development in our cities and towns, and she's a liaison for municipalities all over the state. In 4+ terms as mayor of Salem, and the first woman mayor of Salem, she turned deficits into record surpluses and saved taxpayers money by strengthening city services and revitalizing downtown Salem. And no child will be sad about the Halloween half-day coming up in 2025. I know she had nothing to do with that, but I know a lot of people are very happy about it. The Lieutenant Governor chairs the Governor's Council to address sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking, the Seaport Economic Council, and she co-chairs the STEM Advisory Council, and she can still hit a jump shot. The Lieutenant Governor reminds us that if you are the first of your kind to crack a ceiling, make sure you're not the last in lifting others up. Congratulations to our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you today and to celebrate the amazing awardees, honorees, and the folks who have already won this award, including Governor Healy. It's terrific to be a part of a very exclusive, well-deserved, hardworking club. I was lucky to find my passion for public service fairly early in my career. It started with a college internship and eventually led me to be the chief legal counsel in the city of Chelsea. They came out of receivership, then in Salem, and then obviously in Beacon Hill, where I feel such gratitude. I think the governor and I both feel a lot of gratitude for being in these roles. But it wasn't a journey that was, I would say, easy or straightforward. In 2005, I ran for mayor of Salem for the very first time. And at this point, I was a real long shot. I didn't grow up in Salem. I didn't have the most money. It was a very three-way competitive race with an incumbent and an establishment candidate. No woman had ever held the job before. And I was basically told, we're not ready for a woman, Kim. Wait your turn. This is in Salem. We weren't so good to women in 1692, so had to heed some of that warning. But I think there's a lot of people who have heard that before, that maybe you're not ready, maybe you should wait your turn. It still happens today. And I should also say, I do want to recognize my husband at that time. Our kids were 2, 4, and 7. And I was working in the city of Chelsea as they came out of receivership. We were a 2-income family. He's a union bricklayer. And I came to him at the dinner table and I said, I just can't sit on the sidelines anymore. I really want to run for mayor, and I'm going to have to quit my job to do it. If I'm going to win, I got to be all in. I got to quit to do this. And he looked at me and he said, if you really want to do this, I'm all in. We can eat spaghetti, okay? And he doesn't even like spaghetti, right? And I want to salute him. He's not here today. He's working. Our kids are grown now. But that matters, all right? Some of you need to mention this to him when I'm late for dinner and all the things. I do wonder if he would have said, oh gosh, the kids are little, I don't know, would I have changed my mind? Thankfully, I've got a good guy, and he knew this was something that I could do and we could do, and it all worked out. But I do think those conversations still happen. I think women hearing that it's not their turn still happens. And if I had any advice to give, I really, really, really encourage you to ignore those people who say you're not ready, to turn the other way when people think you need the perfect exact scenario to advance your career. Even if you're scared or you're anxious or you're nervous, if you have a fire in your belly to do something, if you really believe you are the best candidate and that is inside you, do it. Do it scared. do it nervous, do it anxious. You're going to be better off for it, because doing it, despite being told to sort of wait your turn, that changed my life. I took on sort of this old boys establishment. Salem was not the hip, historic place it is today. And I won that race and became the first woman mayor in Salem's 400-year history. Yeah. I was really fortunate to be reelected 5 times, and together with a whole lot of people, a business community, a public sector, strong, engaged residents, we really helped transform the city into a place that's now the 3rd most visited destination in Massachusetts, that is a place that's held up, is revitalized. And like Tiffany, I love cities. I believe in the power of what happens on the ground in your community really matters in terms of your quality of life and the outcomes that you have. And so turning that extensive experience in city government into a passion for not only good government, but good government in Beacon Hill as your lieutenant governor has truly been an honor for me. And I'm grateful for every step in that journey, for the things I learned, the people I work with, the meeting people across this state who go to work every single day, unheralded, the DCF worker working with a family, trying to get them back on track, a recovery coach working with someone in the throes of substance use. I just was reading in a class in Peabody, and teachers who go to school looking to turn light bulbs on top of kids' heads who are thirsty and inquisitive and curious. So if you take anything away from my story, I hope it's the fact that you don't always know where your career is going to take you. You don't always know if those risks are going to work out. There was lots of uncertainty, but moving forward, looking at the opportunities in front of me, I always feel like doing a good job at the job you have is the best way to get to your next job. Having a collaborative spirit to try and get things done. This truly is a team game, this idea of governing and governing well, where you're listening and acting and adopting a none of us are as smart as all of us approach to leading. And as I stand here today, very fortunate to work alongside a kick-ass governor who likes to get stuff done and who gives me a lot of latitude and leash to influence what we're doing. I feel really fortunate, particularly at this time in this state, with our history and our ability to be both a backstop and a beacon for whatever comes out of the federal government, for whatever, frankly, challenges we have as a state. We're in Massachusetts, we're gonna lead, we're disciplined, we're gonna go after it. So I wanna say thank you for this recognition, congratulations to all the awardees, and thank you to the Chamber and Jim for having convenings like this and bringing us together. It's been a long year this entire month. And events like this are truly inspirational. So thank you.
Congratulations, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you. We need people with that passion for public service to hear that message, so hopefully some in this room will. Our next Pinnacle Award is for Achievement in Arts and Education, and our recipient is Grace Cotter-Regan, President of Boston College High School. Grace is a leader in advancing Jesuit education. She is the first female president of Boston College High School. She brings decades of experience in education and in leadership and philanthropy to this post, and a love for the faith and the school's mission. Grace has propelled a $125 million Illuminating Excellence campaign, ensuring that BC High's missions endure for generations. And she's actively engaged in the broader educational community. Grace serves as the national board of Jesuit Schools Network, AISNE, the Valedictorian Project, and as vice chair of America Media's board of directors. She reminds us all that it is all about leading with purpose, passion, and mission. Clarity of mission and leading with kindness and care and a good dose of accountability makes for success. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Grace Cotter-Regan.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm truly honored to receive the Pinnacle Award for Achievement in Arts and Education. Standing here, I'm reminded of the power of community and the transformative role that education plays in shaping our world. As the president of Boston College High School, an all-boys Jesuit Catholic institution, my journey has been one of bridging gaps, fostering dialogue, convening collaborators, providing access, and nurturing the next generation of leaders. This afternoon, we are surrounded by men and women who are leaders of industry, especially here in our beloved Boston. This city, renowned for its rich history and cultural heritage, is also at the forefront of education, technology, entrepreneurship, innovation, and science. In this dynamic environment, building a better community is not just a goal, it is a responsibility and a duty that we all share. Now more than ever, it's crucial to form good and ethical leaders who will guide us toward a brighter future, and that's why I'm so proud of our young men at BC High. When I reflected on the question, what advice do you have for other women in the workforce, I'm drawn to the unique position I hold leading an all-boys Jesuit school as a woman is not just about breaking barriers, it's about setting a precedent and being focused on mission and margin. It is about giving young men the opportunity to embrace and express their Jesuit values, values that emphasize compassion, justice, and service. At BC High, Jesuit language is unique, creating spaces where open dialogue flourishes, whether in business, religion, politics, or the nonprofit world. In shaping these young men, we're nurturing leaders who will in turn shape the world. As a Jesuit school, we share a beautiful vernacular with the Jesuit schools around the globe. We look every day to find God in all things and work for the greater glory of God. That is the Latin phrase, ad maiorem Dei gloriam. We focus on cura apostolica and cura personalis. That's the care of the enterprise and the care of the person. We seek the magis. We challenge our students to reach for the more. And finally, we aspire to be men and women, for and with others, committed to a faith that does justice. In the workplace, it's vital to call people to accountability, to be present in every moment, and to lead with kindness and empathy. As women, we have an innate strength to lead with both our heads and our hearts, balancing the demands of our roles with the compassion and accountability that creates meaningful connections, relationships, and outcomes. The theme of hope resonates with me deeply. This year is the Jubilee year in the Catholic Church, a time of remission of sins and universal pardon, and Pope Francis invites us to be pilgrims of hope. This concept has guided my reflections, reminding me that hope is not a passive waiting, but an active striving toward a better future. Today, I see a room filled with women and men who embody hope, women who lead, inspire, and pave the way for others, like my past awardees, like my fellow awardees. Regardless of our faith background, we share this common thread of hope, a beacon that illuminates our path forward. As we look to the future, let us continue to nurture that hope, foster dialogue, and lead with empathy. Together, we're shaping a world where every voice matters and where the values we hold dear are woven into the fabric of our society. I hope that each of you leave today thinking about your call to action and how you stand up to be a voice of hope in action. I can say that certainty, with a week out from our national transition of power in a political climate that divides more than unites, our young men at BC High are engaged in thoughtful and respectful dialogue and discourse around civic and global challenges. Thank you for this incredible honor. Congratulations to my fellow recipients and for the opportunity to walk alongside of you on this journey of hope and leadership. As one of my heroines, Dorothy Day, founder of the Catholic Worker Movement, challenged the world, she said, "The greatest challenge of the day is how to bring about a revolution of the heart, a revolution which has to start with each one of us." God bless, and thank you very much for this honor.
Congratulations again, Grace. And I'm so glad so many members of your family could be here. For achievement in healthcare, our Pinnacle Award honoree is Rachel Felix, Chief Marketing and Growth Officer at Boston Medical Center Health System. During her 25-year career as a brand strategist, Rachel successfully launched and led campaigns in healthcare and media and consumer packaged goods. And right now, she says she is fully living her purpose. As the SVP and Chief Marketing and Growth Officer, she leads the growth across all audiences, from patients to community partners to donors. She's a great listener, listening, building relationships, and focusing on strategy enable her to advance initiatives and to deliver greater impact, better access, and better healthcare outcomes for patients and communities in all parts of our area. She's committed to supporting and serving the community. Rachel is on the board of directors at the New Commonwealth Fund, PRX, the Women's Lunch Place, and in Dorchester, she co-founded Boston's first Porch Music Festival, for which thousands of people would say thank you in unison. Rachel reminds us that we must project confidence. It is the largest differentiator as you ascend the career ladder. Don't let the doubt creep in, and trust your abilities. Join me in welcoming Rachel, and congratulations, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. It's so great to see. I had no idea there were so many people that were going to be here today. So I want to talk about change. Change is scary. In fact, moving to Boston, this New Yorker was actually terrified. I had a job in entertainment, living my best life in Brooklyn. My soul was full with colleagues, with friends and family, social activities, many of which I designed myself. Travel for work and pleasure, direct flights out of JFK. I was living the dream. When my husband approached me about moving, I'm sure you can guess my initial reaction. After COVID, he was ready for a change, which I felt I needed to honor. And one thing about me, once I make a decision, even if I'm kicking and screaming leading up to it, I don't look back. I took this as an opportunity to actually assess what I wanted out of my career in particular. While it was going well in New York, I wasn't necessarily growing. I also realized through COVID, Black Lives Matter, and other challenges with my family at the time, that I wanted to serve a greater purpose, be more intentional, and have an impact on my communities in a more systemic way. While switching industries was daunting, I told my authentic story, which resonated and demonstrated how my experience could transfer. I also looked for my point of differentiation, that my outside experience offered me a unique perspective and fresh approaches. I had taken a class in business school called Napoleon's Glance that was about creative intuition, the notion that your intuition is shaped by experiences and real-life knowledge. After working in the same company for 15 years, I definitely had doubts and questioned if I truly had the skills to do something new. But I realized I had been accumulating knowledge that started to come together for me in new ways amidst this career change, almost in the form of frequent aha moments. I could see very clearly the idea or innovation needed just from simply being in a new environment and applying expertise in new ways. So while it is scary at first, I say embrace the change and the journey. I know that I am better and smarter for it. Start recognizing and trust in your Napoleon's glance. Lean into that creative intuition and challenge yourself to think outside the box, even if not making a major life change like I did. To gather experiences that seemingly have nothing to do with your work, but could actually lead you to the next big thing, a new product idea, a wild but fitting collaboration, a technology infusion, or something that renews and reignites your passion, as well as those around you. And have confidence, even if you don't always believe it. If you don't project that, no one else will put their confidence in you. Don't underestimate the value of your network in building your confidence. From my neighborhood friends who banded together to start a Porch Fest for our community, to mom friends also trying to balance family with their careers, to colleagues and peers who support one another and are invested in each other's success. This could not and cannot be done alone. As a supporter of any kind, know that your role instilling that confidence is critical. Sometimes that can be done by simply listening. As you can see, and true to form, I have not looked back on my Boston move. With change comes opportunity, a chance for fresh starts and new connections, an opportunity to be bolder and more confident. For me, an opportunity to align my personal values and my work in a way that I could have never imagined. To have purpose, intention, and impact to save lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Congratulations. We're so glad you moved here. We now present the Pinnacle Award for Achievement in Management Nonprofit, and our honoree is Ineda Roman, President and Chief Executive Officer of Amplify Latinx. Ineda is dedicated to advancing Latino prosperity through leadership, representation, economic mobility, and public policy solutions. The goal, to make a lasting impact on the lives and careers of women and Latinos nationwide. An innovator, a lawyer, a natural connector, and a small business owner for more than 2 decades, she is determined to strengthen the nation's economy by helping women and communities of color maximize their potential. Ineda reminds us of the importance of finding the positive. Your mindset is the most powerful tool you have because it's not the setbacks that define us, but how we respond to them. There is power in never letting a day pass without looking for the silver linings and blessings in disguise, regardless of the curveballs that life may throw you. Ineda, congratulations.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to the Boston Chamber for this incredible honor. And we stand on the shoulders of the past honorees, and I'm so delighted to be here with my current honorees and getting to know them better as we move forward. So today we celebrate remarkable women, and as I reflected on my journey, the 2 women that first came to mind were my mother and my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. My mom, who traveled here from Puerto Rico with my brother to be with us today, she taught me about courage. When I was 10 years old, my parents got divorced. And because she wanted to normalize new beginnings for us, for her children, she decided to go back to graduate school. While she worked full-time, she took care of us. She completed 2 graduate degrees. Yeah, pretty remarkable. Therefore, when I had the opportunity to move to Boston from Puerto Rico, that didn't scare me. Being here alone, it didn't scare me because this new beginning was normal for me. Because I knew if my mom could do it with 3 little children, I could go to law school by myself in a new city. I literally knew one person when I moved here 25 years ago. And those of you who know me can imagine that's not very real today, right? I know a lot more people today. And so 5 years after I moved here, I met Mike, my cute neighbor from across the hall, who ended up becoming my husband and my biggest champion, sitting right here. And that's how Boston became officially my second new home, for good. Now back to remarkable women. My paternal grandmother, Mama Clara, who is watching from above, inspired me to be a woman of service. My abuelita was a woman ahead of her time. In the 1950s, not only was she a businesswoman, she was also one of the first women ever to be elected to public office in Puerto Rico. Mama Clara taught me that we are put on this earth to plant seeds of good, and that true impact is intended to last beyond our days on this earth. Her example inspired me to be a servant leader, focused on building a better future for all of us. You see, coming from Puerto Rico, where all the professionals are Latino, it was a bit of a culture shock for me to see the few and far between Latino professionals across sectors here in the United States. This realization and my own need for community are what led me to launch what is now Amplify Latinx, also known as ALX. At ALX, we have dedicated our time, talent, and treasure to co-building a community of allies that invest where the growth is. Our work unlocks our state's economic potential by maximizing the economic impact of the almost 1 million Latinos who reside here in Massachusetts. Now, we could not do this work alone. We have established meaningful partnerships with the Boston business community and civic leaders across the Commonwealth, many of whom are here today. You all understand the positive economic impact of investing in our work, and for that, I am grateful. Thanks to your support, we've built a remarkable team who see their work as a calling, not just as a job. I am so lucky to pay it forward every single day with my ALX team, including our board and advisors who are here celebrating with us today. Along with our allies, we are building a more competitive, equitable, and inclusive Commonwealth. And we know this is a win-win for all of us in this room. Thank you for this honor.
Congratulations, Anela. For achievement in entrepreneurship, our Pinnacle Award is Josiane Martinez, founder and chief executive officer of ASG. In that leadership role, Josiane spearheads successful marketing campaigns for private and for governmental clients with her expertise in public policy, cross-cultural communications, public affairs, and public administration. She works with government leaders and is a valued partner. Governor Healy, in fact, appointed Josiane to serve as the chair of the Commonwealth Advisory Council on Latino Empowerment. Before building ASG as a diverse, dynamic powerhouse, Josiane served as the executive director of the Massachusetts Office for Refugees and Immigrants. Josiane's advice to women, especially women of color, is, we must always be the most prepared in the room and ready to take a seat at the table. Despite how hard the challenges are, the hard work to overcome them is never in vain. That hard work will carry you from your first position to your last. Congratulations, Josiane.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. I'm truly honored and grateful to be receiving this award today by such an amazing group of trailblazers, mentors, and hermanas. It is with immense pride that I accept the 2025 Women's Network Entrepreneurship Award. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that strong women have always supported my life, and I strive to do the same for others. I'll tell you 3 pivotal times in my life. Number 1, I grew up in Puerto Rico, like Eneida. And my parents took divorce when I was 4. That led my mom to send me to my grandmother's. She raised me, a single mom, an entrepreneur. This abuela had a shop near our home. And my after-school program was to work on that little shop every single afternoon. That taught me a lot. It taught me the importance of resilience and the importance of adaptability. This was a challenging time for me, but it became a turning point in my life, pushing me to succeed in a school and be the first one in my family to go to college, pursue a higher education. Number 2, moving to the United States. Like everybody moving from a Latino country, I did experience some challenges, language barriers, and cultural shock. It was a challenging time, but I was driven to make my community better. And along the way, I was inspired by many women, and some that are here in this room today, that are part of the Women's Network, whose courage and determination showed me everything that is possible. This journey has taught me that we can overcome any obstacle and achieve our dreams with determination and support. Number 3, Another pivotal moment in my life when I decided to start Archipelago Strategies Group, a word in English. Now it's ASG. This decision to embrace the social impact work allow us to build a very strong and meaningful connections and make tangible difference in our community. See, I was studying at Siemens. That's where I engineered ASG, an all-women MBA program. So for the people out there and the women that are out there in their careers, my advice to you is never shy away of opportunities. Remember the challenges that you have already overcome and surround yourself like people in the Women's Network, mentors that can guide you and challenge you for you to become better. I also want to share a story about a very successful partner who has been instrumental in my journey. My wife, whose initials are ASG, has been a constant source of support and encouragement. Her belief in me and our dream and our shared vision for ASG has been crucial to our success. So thank you all for this incredible honor, and I look forward to continuing to contribute to the community and supporting others in their journey. Thank you.
Congratulations, Josiane. And the serendipity of ASG is beautiful. Our next award is for achievement in management, private sector, and our Pinnacle Award honoree is Grace Lee, Massachusetts Regional President, Executive Vice President of M&T Bank. Grace has more than 25 years of public and private sector leadership experience. In her role as regional president, she's responsible for M&T Bank's strategic development and growth in Massachusetts. Since 2014, she has also served as the head of government banking and finance division for New England, growing deposits from $900 million to more than $6 billion. Grace began her career as a distinguished civil rights attorney. Grace was general counsel and first deputy treasurer of the Office of the State Treasurer and Receiver General, where she established the Asian American Commission and served as the commission's first executive director. Grace also fundraises for life-saving cancer research and treatment at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute by participating in the Pan Mass Challenge. And not just riding the two-day ride, which is hard enough, but also participating in the winter cycle. M&T Bank serves as the PMC's co-presenting sponsor. Grace offers this advice for us. Passion and belief in what you do will help. It will help you stand out and drive you to success. Most importantly, always look for opportunities to serve your teammates and promote their success through your own leadership. Grace, congratulations.
Well, good afternoon. I'm going to start by saying Happy New Year. Those of you that know, 2025, but we just celebrated the Lunar New Year on Tuesday. So people of Asian descent, this is a very high celebratory moment for us. So I will wish you a Happy New Year in my native tongue, which is Korean. 새해 복 많이 받으세요. That means many, many prosperous and healthy, bountiful days for you in 2025. So my husband's here, and he's probably chuckling because I've just maximized my Korean language skills right there. So before he says, yeah, that's all she knows how to say, I'm going to out myself right now. So, you know, I have to say that this is such an incredible honor. You know, I stand here before you incredibly humbled, not just because of the amazing women that have come before us, but how I got here. I had a whole speech that I'm totally going to go rogue. Jim's going to be mad at me later, but this is the third time I was nominated. You know, while everybody talks about believe in yourself, go after it, you know, you can do it, you know, you should know that, you know, in your journey, whether you're young, mid-career, or even later life, I think the single most important thing is to surround yourself with those that support you. Your network, your power, everything emanates from that. Great leaders are great leaders because of the people that surround them. And for me, that starts from home. My husband, Joe Makaleski. The write-up said Joe, but he's not Joe Lee, he's Joe Makaleski, who would be mad. You know, it starts from home, but then it extends out to your friends, and most certainly in your workplace. You know, I talk about, you know, power. You know, we all have power, and we should use that in a positive way. You know, we want to maximize the benefit that we can give to others, but we forget about the power that we have to actually impact negatively or positively the people that we work with every day. When we pass on to the next world, regardless of what faith you are, when you accumulate all the hours you've spent, you will have spent more hours with the people that you work with than your family and your friends. So that means when you walk into the office, you have the power to profoundly impact the people that are around you and surround you. And that goes from walking in to saying hello, or walking in and recognizing maybe someone didn't have a great day when they walked in, but also recognizing that we, in our inherent ability, have the ability to change that dynamic. And when I say that it's important to surround you with people that, you know, really, really believe in you, one of the things I always reflect on are my mentors and my father, who passed from cancer, which is why I'm so committed to the PMC. And the one consistent thing that I have with my supporters is, through their eyes, I saw the reflection of me that was the best version of me. It was how they saw me that would sustain me. And I'm going to bring it full circle, because I said this was the third time that I was nominated. Helen Yu, who's is a MNT colleague of mine, is also a member of the chamber and is very active, nominated me the first year, and I said, oh, you know, that's a high bar, you know, like, and like, but I was so you know, honored that she wanted to nominate me. I was rejected. Thanks, Jim. Year two, she's like, I believe in you. She's like, you do such a great job. And she goes on, and she's telling me, I'm going to nominate you again. And of course, I'm like, how could I say, you know, she was, and she's here today, you know, and I said, you know, I said, don't be disappointed if we get rejected, because it's like, you know, people like the lieutenant governor who gets this. So, you know, like, but, you know, I was so flattered that she nominated me. And that was year two. Rejected. Thanks again, Jim. So sure enough, Helen's like, I'm doing it again. Like, you know, I'm doing it. And she's rattling off all the reasons why she thinks I'm, you know, so great, which my husband would probably say no, right? And so sure enough, this year, you know, she nominates me, and I'm fully expecting to be rejected again. And so this year, Jim called me, and he told me, you know, that I've made the cut this year. I'm good enough, right? what the reason I share that story is not because, yes, I should never give up. None of you should ever give up. If anybody's heard me speak, I always lead with, you go for it. You're at no now. You can only go up, right? So go for it. Go for it. My life didn't change when I got rejected once, got rejected twice, right? I still had my family, I had my job, so I lost nothing. Maybe gained a couple of bruised egos, but I lost nothing. But sometimes your confidence needs a little supercharge, right? Sometimes that voice in your head, oh, I don't know. You need to surround yourself with people that see the best version in you every day, so they can remind you of who you are and what you can do. And even if you slip a little and say, ooh, I don't know if I can do it, they forge ahead anyway. Helen Yeh, I want you to stand up. I want everybody to see. So when you talk about leadership, great leaders only come from people that are surrounded by greater people. And while I stand here and I get to be regional president, I have the best team surrounding me. M&T family, I love you. I absolutely love you. Not just because, we're rock solid in everything that we do, but we get on bikes. We volunteer together. We do 40 hours of paid leave for all of our employees, and God, these guys, they're kids, because I'm older, they embrace it, and they do it, and they're out there. And that is why Jim finally said yes to me today. And so I share that because, everybody talks about yeah, go for it. Yes, you must go for it, because you are at no now. But it's not just enough to have the gumption. You need the people supporting you. You need that arm to lean on, and you need that support to amplify whatever you do. Because there will come a day when you have a real challenge, and something will come up that you think that is insurmountable. And what I say is, every challenge and obstacle that's ever been put before me was just fate giving me an opportunity to reset, relever, and reevaluate. We show up, and the reason why I wanted to wish you a Happy New Year is, our power is who we are. If you're passionate about what you do, you got to find your why, because your why will take you through multiple careers. If you look at my resume, it's like professional ADD, right? But don't laugh so much. But what I've always been passionate about is people, serving people. Everything else became about venue. I want to serve my colleagues, my employees, my customers, my community. That is my passion. So when there is an obstacle, when there is a no, it is just a detour. It is not the end of the road. So I will leave you with, this is my Susan Lucci, Sally Fields moment. So I'm going to say it, even though my communication guy said, don't say it. Jim, you really, really like me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Grace. I was actually there the night that Susan Lucci actually won, so I feel like there's a theme here. And Helen, thank you very much for your tenacity. You did the right thing. Our next Pinnacle Award is for Achievement in the Professions, and we are honored to present this award to Laura Wood, Executive Vice President of Patient Care Operations and System Chief Nurse Executive at Boston Children's Hospital. Laura is a lifelong pediatric executive nurse leader. She is committed to enhancing healthcare delivery environments by making every aspect, patient safety, quality, digital health, and the well-being of her colleagues her priorities. She brings a direct understanding of the largest segment and vital core of the healthcare workforce, and that is registered nurses and interprofessional team members. For more than 40 years, Laura has successfully led teams within Boston Children's Hospital, Johns Hopkins Hospital Children's Center, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and Penn Medicine. A mission-focused and passionate advocate for the well-being of children, Laura has made an impact here in New England and nationwide through board service for Simmons University, Boston Children's Hospital, and through leadership as president of the American Nurses Credentialing Center. Laura urges others to be mission-centric, be present, be persistent. Laura, congratulations.
Okay, I'm going to skip the piece about being a three-peat myself, but there's more. You can see there's a theme here. I'd like to just start by saying, Lisa, thank you for your participation in this, in so many important events. I overlap with Lisa throughout the year in some wonderful settings, bringing so much meaning and purpose into our community. I'd also like to thank the members of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, including Chamber President, CEO Jim Rooney, and so many Chamber colleagues who have made the Pinnacle Award program, really this tradition, possible each year in Boston. It is really powerful, and I hope many of you will come away feeling that sense today. It's just such a privilege to be part of this event today. So I will start by saying, in my heart, I hold my parents, Frank and Jean Wood, first and foremost, so close, and that will always be the case. And I'm truly grateful for the life that they made possible for our family. My parents grew up in modest, though stable circumstances in a small Connecticut town known for its copper and brass mills and really hardworking residents and families. My father, on a high school education, enlisted in the U.S. Navy at age 17, where he spent the next 4 years on U.S. Navy destroyers in the South Atlantic in very dangerous circumstances. My mother completed nursing school during the same time, and a few years later, they reunited and married, and soon started a family. My parents decided that they wished to create new possibilities for themselves and for their family. And as a result, they started on a journey of frequent relocations. I moved about 10 times as a child. I went to 3 different high schools. I moved in the middle of the school year, and in fact, I was telling this story last night. I moved in November in 8th grade, and I got an F in home ec because I had skipped the apron and A-line skirt and had to go right to the dress with no prior experience. It didn't work out very well. So new challenges and unfamiliar circumstances was very much part of my childhood, and I carried it forward into my adulthood. Today, I work with colleagues who themselves have used these phrases in my presence. Leap and the net will appear. We collectively strive at Boston Children's to improve the lives of children, and each and every day through a combination of scientific breakthroughs and new clinical care practices. The true anchor of my adult life has been and remains my incredible husband of 40 years, Larry Cortana, who is with me here today. And so wonderful to celebrate with him. And our adult son, John, is just another great gift and love of my life. Importantly, Larry's selfless dedication to our family has made it possible for me to really take on a wide range of professional opportunities and responsibilities, given my work often requires time beyond our home life. Read giant understatement. Importantly, Larry's a proud New Orleanian by heritage and Jesuit, which I compared notes with Grace on when we met for the first time earlier today. Very importantly, he has really offset my and really masked my highly underdeveloped culinary skills that many who know me well have experienced over the years. So my journey to Boston began in 2012 when I thought I was well settled after 32 years in Philadelphia, finally had roots. Really, there was really no reason to come to Boston, except there was this opportunity at Boston Children's Hospital, a place I had said no to when I was 21 and a brand new nurse because I couldn't quite afford Boston, and that is true. And I chose Baltimore as a less expensive place to initially go to. Sandra Fendock hired me, who many of you know as the hospital's first female president and CEO, and a prior Pinnacle Award winner. My immediate predecessor, Eileen Sporing, served as Boston Children's chief nurse for nearly 25 years and has also been a valued colleague and sponsor throughout my career and an exceptional role model, opening doors at a time when fewer women and even fewer nurses served on boards, nor had access to really impact the highest levels of decision-making in healthcare. And finally, 3 years ago, Kevin Churchwell, MD, my current boss and an inspiring leader, our new CEO and president, who Sandra transitioned that role to, stepped forward to be the CEO. And all three have really been true sponsors. I'm naming them very specifically because these are people who really did allow me to take on both regional and national roles, really in a new way. Finally, I'm tremendously grateful to collaborate with so many Boston Children's colleagues, including exceptional nurse leaders, and the hospital's Women Alliance employee group, many of whom are here today and celebrating with me. So I want to thank all of them as well. So how exactly did a lifelong nurse come to be recognized today for this prestigious award in the category of achievement in the professions? I did a little forensic, and my review of prior winners kind of validated what I suspected, that to the best of my knowledge, my ability to look back over the 3 decades of the Pinnacle Awards, that indeed there's never been a nurse in this category. There have been global consultancies, financial institutions, folks who led many impressive organizations, but as best I could tell, I'm the first nurse standing and winning in this category. And I am just so proud to serve the Boston region and continue to advance the stability and quality of healthcare and the economy of Massachusetts as Boston Children's Chief Nurse Executive. Nursing's a profession, and yet a look back at what is the definition of a profession. A profession is a community defined by a body of work, possessing special knowledge and skills. And as we know, and many of the folks who have spoken already have noted, that Boston, Massachusetts is nationally and internationally recognized for its exceptional ecosystem melding science, technology, innovation. And yet, too often, nursing is not even recognized as a true profession, nor a STEM field. This impairs NIH funding and all kinds of recognition and important ways to support and recognize nurses in nursing. Probably many of you see the annual Gallup reports about the most trusted professions in the country. And again, in 2025, this month, for the 23rd consecutive year, we were bumped out by firefighters after 9/11, but we otherwise have pretty much been number one throughout. Nursing was ranked in Gallup surveys as the most trusted profession. And I would also just say, I want to tie this, that it's an important asset to have a strong nursing workforce and support the well-being and the economic stability of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's really the strength and capabilities of nurses that are kind of quietly in the background many times in many moments in our country and in our city, be it epidemics, pandemics spanning HIV, Ebola, COVID-19, natural disasters, cyber attacks, wars, and other threats. Society and all of you have instinctively trusted nurses to step forward and do what's needed. One of my life ambitions, quite honestly, and I say this to as many audiences as I can when I have these occasions to share this idea and this view, but I really do hope that we can start to conceptualize nursing as not just the most trusted, but the most influential. And I want to just share a couple Boston-specific examples that I think will remind you of why I think that's already true. There was a certain date that comes to mind when I was preparing my remarks, and it was a few weeks before I was hired in May of 2013. Sandy Fenwick had invited me to come to Boston Children's to meet several future colleagues for the first time. That day was April 15th, 2013. The day 250 Bostonians were injured and 3 tragically died as a result of the marathon bombing terrorism. And in the midst of all of that, in the city, there I was in my first hour at Boston Children's, witnessing the courage and the love and the commitment of people working side by side to save lives and support grieving families. And that really is the essence of nursing. From the onset of COVID-19, when uncertainty abounded, frontline nurses in Boston and around the world again stepped forward in the moments well ahead of when we had much certainty about what was going on. In the midst of really great unknown and real threats to personal safety, these folks stepped forward. Day 1 in the ED, week 1 in intensive care units, year 1, year 2, and continuing. And it's a special point of pride that pediatric nurses, and I feel particularly blessed to have had a lifelong career in pediatric nursing. But here's a little secret I'm going to tell you. Pediatric nurses and children's hospitals have long understood something that I think is still missing more broadly as an understanding in society. We've long understood that family-centered care and visitation is humane and essential. Even during a pandemic, when visitation was curtailed elsewhere, our Boston Children's nurse leaders skillfully adjusted the rules, otherwise known as rule breaking, to sustain family-centered care. And we created places for families to sleep and room in, and to assure that patients and children, patients who are children and their families would not be separated under these really daunting circumstances. So this is part of my campaign to say, if we can do it at Boston Children's, if we can do it in children's hospitals around the country, we can do it in adult health care as well, and we need to. This is really an opportunity for us to change the way that we treat each other in a more relationship-centric way. So I'm now going to close with a final note of gratitude to the recipient, as the recipient of this year's Pinnacle Award for Achievement in the Professions. One of my favorite filmmakers, and my son is a proud graduate of Emerson in film, so I have watched a few thousand films in my lifetime. But one of my favorite filmmakers is a woman by the name of Carolyn Jones. She's an adult cancer survivor herself, and she's devoted many years to showcasing the seemingly ordinary yet extraordinary work of nurses, inspired by her own experience as a patient. Carolyn writes, "At some point in our life, each of us will encounter a nurse, whether it be as a patient or a loved one. And that encounter could mean the difference between suffering and peace, between chaos and order. Nurses matter. Beyond the privilege I have known in serving others as a nurse, I also strive to make sure those nurses who serve us so selflessly in our profession today, still comprised by 88% women, are appropriately recognized, compensated, and can flourish in healthy work environments with appropriate resources and supports." In closing, my sincere thanks to the extended team and all who contribute to the work of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce for this truly meaningful recognition. Please remember, the world needs nurses, and there is no more important profession. Thank you all.
Congratulations, Laura. From one of the most trusted professions to one that doesn't always make the list. But it should, because journalism is critically important, and it is such a pleasure now to bring up our Pinnacle Award honoree today for Lifetime Achievement. Margaret Lowe is the CEO at WBUR. She is a journalist whose reach is far and wide, and who has been making an impact in our lives for decades. It is not an overstatement to say that the effort she put in, the focus on storytelling and on people, sends ripples far beyond WBUR. Margaret has made it her life's work to tell the stories of people you and I might never meet, but who without question have the power to impact our lives. She has, over her years in journalism, from that very first shift as an overnight production assistant at NPR's Morning Edition, she has introduced us to critical people. She has brought us the world. She has set up bureaus all over the world. And we know about conflicts in Libya and Syria and civil rights struggles because of her work. Margaret will be the first to tell you that journalism is not easy. And particularly in the landscape we face right now, there are twists and turns and changes and technology and what are we doing with AI? And she has ridden every wave with grace and integrity and intelligence. And we are so very lucky to have her here in Boston. Please join me in congratulating Margaret Lowe.
Lisa, you are spectacular. Thank you so much, and all my fellow honorees. You are such an incredibly hard act to follow. I think I want to be every single one of you when I grow up. You know, having devoted my life to the craft of audio, at this stage, I thought, I kind of just want to be acquired by Spotify and live life happily ever after. But it turns out that this award is way, way better. Thank you so much. Boston is my hometown. I grew up here. I left at 17 to go to college and came back 5 years ago to run WBUR. There were, I should say, many decades in between. I'm the youngest of three. Our parents influenced us each in very powerful and very different ways. My mother was a psychologist, and she had no tolerance for anything even remotely superficial. If I told her a new friend was nice, she would say, "Margaret, nice is not a word." Translation, there simply is not enough meaning in the word nice. So I can probably credit her with my love of language and my very heavy-handed editing style. I still have a picture of my physicist father when I was in high school helping me with my math homework. And when I struggled for answers, he would say, "You know, Margaret, finding the answer is never hard once you know the right equation." And somehow those words felt as much like a life lesson as a math lesson. Figuring out the answer is never hard once you have the right equation. I was lucky enough at a pretty young age to find the right equation for me. In my early 20s, I moved to New York City, and I met an oral historian who was producing a documentary series for public radio, for a place called National Public Radio, about labor history. And she needed me to carry a tape recorder all across the city and interview people who had helped build the labor movement. She couldn't afford to pay me, so I got a waitressing job to pay for rent and food. And I met so many colorful characters, men and women in their 70s and 80s, and we'd sit knee to knee, often in cramped apartments, as they told me their life stories, what shaped their politics, and ultimately what drove them to form a union, the Congress of Industrial Organizations, or the CIO. And I produced a documentary that I so proudly titled Hard Times and Picket Lines. I was totally hooked. And that's how I found my way to journalism. I'm fascinated by people's stories. I can probably thank my mom for that too. Stories that explain history and politics and the human condition. As the late, great writer and journalist Joan Didion said, we tell ourselves stories in order to live. That was the right equation for me. Making sense of the world, understanding why things are the way they are, following the facts, finding stories that make you sit up and listen, learn something new, and feel something deeply. In 1982, less than 2 years out of college, I got a job at NPR, as Lisa said, as an overnight production assistant on Morning Edition, which meant that my day started at 1 o'clock in the morning. And as a brand new PA, I was hardly in the storytelling business. One of my jobs was to write the game scores that led the daily sports segment. So we would rip wires off the AP wire from old teletype machines that like clacked and spit out rolls and rolls of paper in the middle of the night. And on one spring night, that first year at NPR, I wrote something like this. The Blue Jays edged the Tigers 5-4. The Red Sox slipped past the Orioles 4-3. The Mets trounced the Phillies 8-1. And the Yankees tied the Rangers 4-4. Then I heard Bob Edwards, the longtime host of Morning Edition, read my words out loud on the air. And the Yankees tied the Rangers 4-4. Tied? He repeated the word in utter disbelief. Tied? Then, stunned silence. I had no idea that baseball teams can't tie. I was mortified. My father, my wonderful father, was a great math coach and life coach, but he never took me to Fenway Park. I know it's shocking to say that in a room full of Bostonians, but it happens to be true. Turns out there was a rain delay, and that game had been called for the night. The wires reported the latest score, and I ran with it. So facts matter, and truths matter. It's really, really easy to get things wrong. That mistake at 20-something probably taught me more than the many things that I've managed to get right over the years since. And then there were NPR's founding mothers, Cokie Roberts, Linda Wertheimer, Nina Totenberg, and Susan Stamberg. These legendary journalists, they covered Congress, the Supreme Court, hosted All Things Considered. They may not have been the boss, but they were so boss. And they were stunning role models for a new generation of women like me, and I was really lucky enough to experience a world without barriers for women. Decades later, I was running NPR News, overseeing hundreds of journalists across the country and around the world, and it was a very, very different organization than the one that I had walked into in the middle of the night. NPR had become one of the world's most respected news organizations, and yet, it still nurtured stories that foster understanding, connection, and community, storytelling with a very human voice. And beyond reporting the news, there is something about the immediacy and the intimacy of our medium that reminds us of our shared humanity, so important in these polarized times. And those values do inform my leadership. I've always tried to lead with humanity and a sense of shared purpose. Nothing gives me more joy than seeing the next generation of women and men find their footing and then soar. Don't hide your vulnerability or the fact that you don't have all the answers. My style might be considered distinctly female. I had one NPR boss tell me I was like a steel tank in a mink coat. And that's probably pretty apt. I never owned a mink coat, and I probably never will. But I do have a lot of steel and a certain amount of stamina and a relentless belief in the purpose of what we do. We are, as Lisa said, at a perilous moment for journalism. It's a moment that demands the best of us. I have devoted head, heart, and soul to this cause, and it has fueled me for a lifetime. Thank you, Jim. Thank you to the Chamber, and thank you all.
Thank you, Margaret, and congratulations. And if there is anyone who could get me to swim, it's you. We are so inspired by Margaret and by all our honorees today. They are examples of the incredibly talented women who are here in Greater Boston. And I want to just have all the honorees, they're already doing it. It's good. It's telepathy now. Or really good organizers at the Chamber. I think that's more likely. I want to thank all of the past Pinnacle Award winners who are here today. We appreciate you and your continuing leadership. And a few final words of thanks. I do want to thank the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be with you again. This is such a giant lift for me. It's like one of my favorite events of the year, which hopefully you can tell. And my colleague Courtney Cole is here from WBZ today for the very first time. And I said, you are going to love this and want to come back every year. So I'm so glad you're here. I want to thank our presenting sponsors, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, the TJX companies, Vineyard Offshore. I want to say a special thanks to Casey and Danielle and Zach, who have been so helpful. To our past honoree sponsors, Deloitte and Suffolk, to our supporting sponsors, the Castle Group, InSource, and Johnson & Johnson, to my family at WBZ, the media partner for this event, who gave me the opportunity this year to share the stories of all 9 women. Margaret's story is on tonight at 6 o'clock, and all of the stories are on our website. I know you will enjoy them. To our corporate table sponsors, to Caitlin Dodge and the Women's Network, thank you for this opportunity to come together. To all of you who are with us today, have a wonderful weekend, carry the inspiration into the next year, and have a great night. Thank you so much.